My guest today is one of the greatest American kickboxing champions and Muay Thai fighters. He's also competed in professional boxing, MMA, Sanchai, and shoot boxing. Kevin Ross, welcome to the show.
It was a daunting preposition to think I'm gonna go do anything in this sport, anything significant. I had this feeling like I wasn't meant long for this world. Going into the year 2000, New Year's Eve, I was inches away from what would have been a fatal car accident. And having that near-death experience, that was where you were supposed to die. Everything from here on out is extra credit. This is time you weren't supposed to have. What are you going to do with this time that you're not supposed to have anyway?
So what did you do?
Well, fortunately,
Welcome to the Lee Labrada Show.
Brought to you by Lean Body, the #1 protein shake in gyms across America.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Lee Labrada Show, the podcast that helps you to improve your physical, mental, and spiritual health. Be sure to hit the subscribe button below now so that you don't miss any future episodes of my show. And look for us on Spotify if you want to listen on your way to work. My guest today is one of the greatest American kickboxing champions and Muay Thai fighters and former Bellator kickboxing featherweight champion. He's also competed in professional boxing, MMA, Sanchai, and shoot boxing. He's considered a pioneer in American Muay Thai and has won multiple titles, including the Lion Fight World Title, WBC Muay Thai National and International belts, and the Bellator Kickboxing World Championship. He's known as the Soul Assassin. Kevin Ross, welcome to the show.
hey, Lee, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you being on. Kevin, let's start with your story. I know that as a martial artist, you had a late start. So you started, I think, when you were 23 years old.
Yes, sir. My first fight and first time ever training was when I was 23, which is incredibly late considering where I was able to get to. Most people that make it to a high level in any kind of fighting arts typically start when they're young children. Even more so in the Muay Thai realm, a lot of those guys are starting when they're 8, 10, maybe 12 years old, and starting right into full professional rules fighting too. I mean, that's the way of life over there, and that's what they do. So for me to start in my early 20s was pretty ancient in considering all those factors, and that was also a thing that kept me from pursuing this for so long. Is I thought I was too old to start when I was 16, 17. I thought I'm not this. I'm too late. That's too late. And then so by the time I was 23, it was even more so. Just seemed like a crazy thing. Particularly again, if you would have said at that age you're going to fight for 20 years, you're going to make it to where you got to, all these things, there's no way. There's no way.
So it would have been hard for you to imagine. And what's really incredible about your journey is that you really kind of started, behind the 8 ball, because all of these competitors of yours probably started when they were just kids.
Yeah. So it was a daunting preposition to think I'm gonna go out there and do anything in this sport, anything significant. But then eventually what I realized was I'm letting all of these doubts and fears and excuses keep me from going after this thing that is constantly in the back of my mind, in my heart. I would try to bury it. I started drinking when I was 12 years old, so it was a coping mechanism when I had this desire in me, and anytime it would flare up, I'd be like, momentarily, I'd be like, yeah, maybe I could do that, and then I think subconsciously I realized I wasn't doing it out of fear and my excuses, so I would find ways to just suppress it and drive it down and try to bury it with my drinking and all of those things that I was doing early in my life. But it would always be there, and it would pop up year after year. And I felt like each time it did, I had to try even harder to suppress it. And eventually I felt like I suppressed it so much that it was just gone, and it finally went away. And a lot of time went by that it did feel like it had disappeared. But one night I was on the roof with a buddy of mine, Mo, and we were drinking 40s at the time. This is in Vegas. And I think this was probably 90, 98, 97. So I was about 16, 17 years old. And he just randomly asked me what I wanted to do with my life, which was, to me at the time, the craziest question and the stupidest question you could ask somebody. Like, why would you ask me a question like that? I felt like you're asking me, what do I want to do when I get to the moon? Like, that's not going to happen. For a lot of reasons, right? One, the way I was living, clearly, was bad. And then two, for the longest time, I had this feeling like I wasn't meant long for this world. And I had this date in my head that I wasn't going to live past the year 2000. And it was something that I just came to accept. I didn't have any feelings about it, any emotions. It was just, that's the way that it is. And there's nothing I can do about it. And because of that, I'm not going to try, and I'm just going to party and piss my life away, basically. Just gave me an excuse to do that. Right. So yeah, he asked me what I want to do with my life. I hesitantly told him about this dream I had of fighting, because I'd never spoken this to anybody. And if you had known me at that time, you would think it was the stupidest, craziest, impossible thing. I wasn't someone you would look at as a fighter or someone that could even do this. I was very, very timid, very shy, very skinny, super, super tiny. I was really small and just was very like a weak and broken person in a lot of ways, for a lot of reasons. My parents divorced when I was about 8 years old, and was constantly moving from state to state to state, going in and out of schools, and all of those things really hindered me in a lot of ways, and just broke me mentally and spiritually. And at the point when I was in Vegas, I was just a shell of a human being at that stage.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bad. It was pretty bad. And anyway, so I hesitantly told him. I took a moment, and I'm like, well, I always wanted to fight. And I expected him to laugh at me, like, what are you talking about? What do you mean fight? And he, for some reason, said, well, why don't you? And
wow.
I told him my reasons, my excuses. And he says, I think if anybody can do it, you could.
Wow.
And I don't know why he said that. I didn't ask him why he thought that. I just said, really? Oh, thanks, man. And then we just went on our conversation and went back to drinking. And it allowed me momentarily to think about the possibility, the maybe that's there. So he planted that seed of possibility in me, and I buried it. But he did plant that, and I always looked back on that as the pivotal moment that planted that seed that grew into what it did. And unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years later. He was born with a heart defect and needed a heart transplant and didn't get it. So that was in 99. He passed away, which just completely destroyed me and all of my friends. It was
only
bad.
imagine.
That was the first time I'd lost anyone that close to me before. And that night, after he'd passed, through my drunken coping with the situation, I told myself, I promised myself, I'm going to go after this dream I have, because here's my friend, 18 years old. He didn't even get to fail at a dream, and I'm too scared to even try because I have all these reasons, all these fears. So I promised myself, I'm going to live my life for the both of us, because he didn't get to. So it doesn't matter how I feel. Doesn't matter how afraid I am. He didn't get to do this, so I need to do it for both of us. So I promised myself that night. And then, unfortunately, just kept drinking for years, years and years.
But the dream was still there.
Oh yeah. But in a lot of ways, that made me go even harder down that road, because it was this constant reminder and voice and feeling him on my shoulder, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're wasting your life. You're going to die. And, as I said before, I never thought I'd live to the year, 2000. And ironically, going into the year 2000, New Year's Eve, I was inches away from what would have been a fatal car accident. We were going to a party, New Year's party, and my buddy was drag racing this guy, and we were coming into a intersection where the cars were already going across, and we kept going forward. I didn't find out till later that his foot had slipped off the brake pedal, and his flip flop got stuck underneath. So I went to lift his foot up to push it down. He couldn't press down on the brake. So we're flying down the road in Vegas at this intersection with cars going through. And I just thought, this is it. This is that moment where this is your time to check out.
That was it.
And he hits a right turn right at the light and fishtails out into the intersection. His wheels are spinning. We're like stuck spinning. And I turn around, look out the back of the car, and there's this semi truck coming through the intersection.
Oh man.
And then it was just waiting I was just waiting for the lights to go out.
Wow. It's that near miss that, I mean, it just brings you face to face with reality. Do you feel that was the turning point?
I would say there was many turning points. There wasn't one moment, right? So I look back, and the moment I had with my friend Mo, expressing to me that he believed in me was one. Promising myself that I would go after this for him was another one. Then having that near death experience, that was a giant one. I was like, that was it. That was where you were supposed to die. And now everything from here on out is extra credit, because you're essentially dead there, and now you're still alive. This is time you weren't supposed to have. What are you going to do with this time that you're not supposed to have anyway? And it still took me till January of 2001. So 1 year, basically. So, cause we were going into 2000. So a year from that, it finally was just like, you just wasted another year. If Mo was still alive, he would beat the shit out of you for not only wasting your life, but wasting the life you promised to live for the both of you. And not only did you not live for the both of you, you went the other direction. You destroyed yourself even more and went even farther down that road. And I just couldn't look myself in the mirror anymore. It was just, this is it. I don't care what happens from here on out. I'm going this direction because I know what that direction will lead to. Inevitably, that death, destruction, everything bad is that direction. I don't know what's this direction. It could be failure. It could be death and destruction this way, but I know for certain what is that direction. So I promised myself I'm getting in the gym, January 1st, called up a gym. Fortunately had, previously back in, I think it was 98, had went to a gym, talked to the instructors, asked them about training and stuff, and unfortunately used that as another excuse not to do it, because I found out how expensive it was going to be. And I was like, wow, I could never afford that. I'm going to have to take classes, and that'll take forever. Because I knew I needed to take one-on-one training. I'm so far behind. I need to do everything I can to progress. And when I found out how much it was going to cost, I can't do this.
So what did you do?
Well, fortunately, I was talking to my father one night, told him the same thing about my dream of becoming a fighter, about why I wasn't doing it. And he essentially was like, well, there's nothing I can do about all your doubts and your fears, but what I can do is help you out with the financial aspect of it. But he's like, you got to make a promise to me. And this is right before New Year's. He goes, you got to make a promise to me that you're going to give up drinking. And he's like, if you give up drinking, I will take care of all of your financial needs to move forward into this venture. And I said, deal. And he said, all right, deal.
Just like that.
Yeah. But I was drinking a 40 at the time. And he says, what about that one? And in my head, I'm like, well, I mean, I'm going to start tomorrow, right? I'm not starting today, but
right. I've heard that, right? I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, of course. So I knew instinctually and subconsciously that it needs to be now. It can't be, I'm going to do it tomorrow. So went over to his sink, poured that 40 out, and
there you go.
I stopped. And then I was in the gym the next day, and did everything from that point forward was, what can I do to get better at this art, and what things are helping and what things are hindering? And I started to put things into that simplistic, binary context of it's either helping or it's hurting. There's no in between. It's not that bad. It's bad or it's good. Is this thing you're doing at this moment helping you to get to the goal you're trying to get to, or is it slowing you down? And because
that is so profound, Kevin, I want to emphasize that, guys. If you will listen to that, because focus is just so important. And I think that one of the most powerful tools to maintain your focus is what you just said, Kevin. Is this helping me get to my goal or not? And throwing away the things that are not helping you get to your goal.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it seems in so many ways it's not that simple, but yet it really is that simple when you put things into that context. When you simplify it, good or bad, helping or hurting, it's pretty obvious what's hurting your progression and what's actually helping. And because I made it so simple and in my mind, it made it very easy for me, easier. I'd say simpler. And because it's simpler, it made it easier to make a decision. I didn't have that desire to do these things. I'm like, if I do this, it's not that bad. It's bad. It's not helping. You're so far behind. You're this age. You wasted however many years already. So because of that, I was extremely motivated to make up for lost time. Not only lost time for me, but lost time for my friend who was no longer alive. I'm like, you have to go above and beyond anything anyone else can possibly do to push yourself. You need to push yourself so hard. You need to find your breaking point each and every day and then move past it each and every day. And that's what I did. And clearly it's a progressive thing. It's not just a overnight thing, but I made that choice. And because I made that choice, there wasn't any in between for me. It was, this is the way that I'm going because the other way is death. And that simplistic viewpoint really helped me. And I maintained that through 20 years of my career because it was never lost on me that I'm not supposed to be alive right now. I know that I should have been dead when I was 20, before I was 20, actually. And every moment, every day, each and every day, I'm like, this is extra credit. You're not supposed to be alive. What are you going to do with the time that you have? So whenever I would have doubts and fears, whenever I'd be going and chasing a guy with 300 fights or years and years of experience or a size advantage over me, the fear would be there, of course. It's not that fear's not there. It's just the acceptance of that fear and a willingness to move forward despite that. And
that's how you slay the giants. You know, so much of it really comes down to the mental part of it, Kevin. And you were driven, and you closed that gap. I mean, and just in an amazingly short amount of time. At what point did you realize, you know what, I'm ready to step into the ring?
Never. So the funny thing is, you know, when I started was every day I was like, when can I get in the ring? When can I get in the ring? When can I get in the ring? I'm asking my coach, when can I get in the ring? When can I fight? And I'm progressing rapidly, a lot more rapidly than anybody else, because I was so focused and so driven. And this was something I'm doing every single day. When I'm in the gym, when I'm out of the gym, everything I'm doing is helping me progress in this art, helping me get stronger, get better, more focused, physically, mentally, spiritually. So I was rapidly progressing above and beyond everybody else. And finally, it was 9 months in, my coach finally told me, we got to fight. It's in Salt Lake City. A bunch of the guys are going to go up. We got a bunch of guys fighting on the card. Great. Trained for it.
How did you react when he told you got to fight?
I just, I was like, this is that moment I've been waiting for. This is going to be that next step, and I'm going to take this next step, and I'm going to use this, and I'm going to keep going forward. So in my mind and how I felt, because of how quickly I was progressing, it just seemed to me like this is destiny. You're going to just skyrocket to the top. You're going to crush everyone in front of you. You're just gonna skip ahead to the end.
So by that point, if you don't mind me saying, I'm observing you went from not believing you could do it to, hey, I'm unstoppable. At some point, you started thinking that.
Yeah, it was this kind of delusional mindset. You know, before you've ever fought, thinking it's like people that watch fights and they're yelling out advice or critiquing fighters when you have no idea what it's like in there. Like they have no concept. Even people that train, if you train, you have a very small idea in comparison to what it's like in the real thing. You have a general idea of some of the movements and some of the aggression. You could have the hardest sparring day ever, and it is night and day different than what it's like in the actual ring. There's just no comparison. It's like trying to compare tennis and rugby. They're just not. You can't compare the two. You can't say, how would this guy perform in this art? You don't know till you do it. There's no way. I don't care how athletic you are, how strong you are, how good you are. There's no factors that will be applicable in there until you step foot in the ring. You just have no idea. It's like
there has to be a survival thing that takes over you.
Certainly. It's like trying to learn how to swim without jumping in the water. That's how I would equate it. You could learn a lot, and you can know what you're supposed to do, and you can learn how to breathe and how you're supposed to move, and you can go through simulated swimming. But until you're thrown in the water by yourself, and if you don't swim, you're going to die. You don't know how to swim. You don't know.
Right.
And you don't know how you're going to react when you're trying to swim and you're trying not to die. So for me, because I only had the experiences in the gym, and it's not even to say I was like, oh, I'm just like, I'm going to kill everybody. But I had this feeling like I was on the right path. And because I'm on the right path, and because I'm making the right decisions now, I felt once you do that, everything's clear. The path is cleared. It just opens up from there, right? As soon as you start to make the right choices in your life and go towards this goal you've had, things are just going to clear out of the way for you, because now you know you're going the right way, and it's easy, and the world will tell you this is your destiny. And that's, in a lot of ways, that's how it felt. So it wasn't to say I had this ego about how good I was. It was just, I felt like it was inevitable. You're supposed to go.
You felt it was your destiny.
Yeah, in a lot of ways that I did. So we get up to Salt Lake, and then I come to find out the guy I was supposed to fight missed weight by, I don't know, 5 pounds. So they ended up matching him up with a guy from my gym who was a little bit heavier, and then I didn't have a fight. I was just crushed. I was completely devastated. I did all this work, drove up from Vegas. My family was up there with me. My girlfriend Gina was with me. I was like, I'm gonna go up there and put on the show, and then it was just like, you don't have a fight. And I was talking to the promoter, and he's like, I'm gonna see what I can do. I'll see if I can get you a backup. I already weighed in and everything. He's like, so go ahead, go eat, rehydrate, and I'll give you a call later and see if we can line something up. And I was completely crushed. I was just like, that's it. We're just gonna have to wait for the next one. After dinner, though, he gives me a call and he says, well, he said, I couldn't find anybody. I could find somebody to fight you, but I couldn't find anybody in your weight class. And I said, and for me, I was like, I don't care. I don't care who it is.
Wow.
And he's like, well,
You were ready.
He's 20 pounds heavier than you. And I'm like, I don't care. And he's already had about 20 fights. Didn't matter to me. That didn't even faze me. It wasn't even a question in my mind. Should I take this? Should I do this? It's just like, I'm doing this. I don't care who's in front of me. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to put on a show and I'm going to destroy this guy. Right. So that was that mentality that I had. And, so I go out there and it's just this, you don't know. So I would say having confidence or being brave going into a situation you've never been into before is completely, it's just false. You're lying to yourself. You're pretending to have confidence. How can you have confidence doing something you've never done before? Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And so I go out there and the opening bell, I just like sprinted at him and I'm just trying to unload and just go to town. And he's experienced, so he's just like covering up and like 30 seconds in, I'm just done. I'm completely gassed out. I'm fried. I just gave it everything I had. And then he starts to wail on me and I'm like, oh shit. And I was I was so gassed out. I could barely even catch a breath and I'm just suffocating. Felt like I'm being held underwater and I'm being pummeled and just getting beaten, post to post. And then, that happens the whole first round. I get in the corner and it's like I'm underwater and I can't catch
your breath.
My breath. I never really experienced that before. I've experienced exhaustion and I pushed myself really hard and I was in great shape. But when you don't know how to breathe correctly for the activity that you're doing, right? Like you could have great running shape, but unless you've sprinted before, that's different. And unless you've sprinted in, say, a soccer match, that's different. Starting, stopping, people coming at you, making mental and physical adjustments. So yeah, I was done, dude. And I'm like, just trying to catch my breath and breathe. And my corner's trying to tell me shit. I couldn't hear a fucking word they were saying.
You're just trying to get your breath.
And in my mind, I'm like, I don't know what to do. But I couldn't even consciously think of thoughts, right? Like my brain's not processing information. I'm not really thinking. It's just a feeling of desperation, of there's nothing I can do. I'm going to die. So then the second round, I go back out there. I did the exact same thing because I'm just going on instinct, right? And my instinct is like, go as hard as you can because that's all you can do in this moment. I can't take my time and pick my shots, right? I'm just like, it's life or death. I'm going to try to give him everything I have. And that lasted about 2 seconds. And then it's just pummeling me, clenching me up. Kneeing me in the face and just killing me. And I distinctly remember this moment. I'm listening to the crowd And every time he hits me, they're like, oh, like cheering.
Oh,
Cause
no.
this is his hometown. And I was from Vegas. He's from Salt Lake. In my head, I'm like, I wanted to stop and tell everybody, he's not hurting me. I'm just tired. I can't breathe. So he's not hurting me. Like I'm feel fine. I just can't breathe. Then I'm going to pass out. And I was like, I'm going to pass out because I can't breathe. And people are going to think he knocked me out.
Right.
And that thought went through my mind in the midst of all this. Right? And then, mercifully, they stopped it, before the end of the round and just saved my life from being destroyed even further. And, I was completely and utterly crushed. Just everything I believed, everything I thought how things were supposed to be, how they were going to be, just got turned upside down on its head. And I get out of the ring, and as I'm walking back, everyone's like telling me, great job, you did great, and like giving me high fives and stuff, which was really confusing to me because I thought that was just the worst thing ever, and I just got the shit kicked out of me in front of everybody. And so I go in the back, I'm just broken, bleeding all over the place, sitting down by myself, and my opponent comes in, and he's like, damn, dude, that was your first fight. I do not want to see you in a few fights from now. Cause
wow.
And
I had some respect there.
I was like, what? I don't know what you're talking about, but thank you. I appreciate that. But I still went right back to just feeling devastated and crushed. And then we're driving back to, Vegas later that day. And I thought, maybe I was wrong. Maybe everything I believed in, everything I thought, every signal that I believed was showing me that this was my path was me lying to myself. And I can't do this. And I'm not good enough to do this. And I am too weak to do this. And I don't have enough confidence to do this. And I let that almost destroy me for probably 24 hours. And then what I finally came to realize was, so what if you can't do this? You're not going to know unless you do this, unless you give it everything you have and push yourself each and every day. It doesn't matter if you lose. It doesn't matter if you can't be the best in the world. It doesn't matter if you can't be the best in the gym. Can you be better than you are right now? And how far can you push yourself? And wouldn't you rather know the answer than wonder?
Now, Kevin, let me just ask you. These are very profound questions for a young man to be asking himself, and so I think that there was this stage you were learning a lot about yourself and your resiliency, and asking yourself the right questions, things that would pay off in the long run for you.
Yeah, exactly. It was, I got thrown into the deep end from the start. And one of those things is, if you want to learn how to swim, throw someone in the pool and they got to figure it out. Because if you don't figure it out, you're going to die. Mm-hmm. And even though it's a hard way to learn things, I would say it's the best way. It's the fastest way to learn things. If you try to do it safely and easily and progressively, you might get there. It's going to take a long time, because we're always going to go back to safety. We are bred to keep ourselves safe. It's a survival mechanism.
It's instinctual.
It's instinctual. It's in our DNA. So we will always go to the side of safety versus danger, unless we force ourselves into it, unless we're willing to face those things. So looking back, I can say, these were pivotal points and very important lessons. And I had to learn hard lessons really early on. And I'm so fortunate. I mean, losing that first fight and having to face that was the best thing that ever happened to me and a pivotal point in my career. If that didn't happen and I would have won that fight, I don't think I would have got to where I got to. I watched so many of my teammates go on these long winning streaks and just crush people. I mean, we were pretty good, and they were just killing everybody. But what I saw happen with 100% of people was, as soon as they inevitably lost, inevitably faced some difficulty, it broke them. Most people,
they didn't have the equipment to handle it.
No, not at all. Most people, it broke right there and then. Other people, it broke, but it took a little longer, but inevitably ended up the exact same way. And what I came to realize was, when everything is easy for you and when you're progressing without any setbacks or limitations or hindrances, you're not simultaneously developing those weak areas in your game, whatever your game may be. And I was forced to confront those day one, fight one. There's a lot of things you're not good enough at. There's a lot of areas you're good, but there's a lot more to this game than just being sharp or athletic or fast.
It's the resistance and the challenges that make you better. Kevin, let me ask you this, because Muay Thai is a very violent sport. And I've heard you say before that you hated violence, but you were intrigued by Muay Thai, which again is a violent sport. How did you establish that balance between hating violence yet getting into the ring?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I always hated violence, and it really upset me a lot. Just seeing people's, I could see the hurt in people on both sides of violence. I could see that it was coming from a place of pain, and I never wanted to inflict pain on everybody else. I was always self-destructive. So I had all this pain and anger and hurt in me, but I used it to destroy myself. I never wanted to put that off on anybody else, I think a lot of people do express it externally, because you got to direct it somewhere, one way or another. You got to do something with this energy, and it's a lot easier to do it to other people, unless you have that inside of you where you don't want to hurt other people, which I did. So I just destroyed myself. But I think that I was able to realize, and one thing that helped was, there was one of the pro fighters at the gym. His name was Ben Garcia. He was the best fighter at the gym at the time. He was even more quiet than me and more humble and soft-spoken than me, which is pretty amazing, because back then I was like a mute, basically. And and he helped me realize that you don't have to be angry. You don't have to be this aggressive person, inside or outside of the ring. I mean, you have to be aggressive in that sense, but you don't have to be emotionally driven in order to participate in this art. And it can be an athletic endeavor. It doesn't need to be an emotional one. And I think that's a strength that the best fighters do have, is they're not emotionally driven. They don't let emotions get in the way of what they need to do. Because if you can be driven by your emotions, you can be controlled by your emotions. If I make you angry, I know that you're going to respond this way. If I make you feel weak, I know you're going to respond this way. So I learned through him and just through practice, how to cultivate that mindset and that mentality, and became very stoic in that way. And from looking to the Bushido way, and how emotions can be the enemy if you don't control and direct them appropriately. And that was something that was learned and developed and progressed over time. So I was able to pretty early on make that distinction between that. I don't need to have anger in order to be a really good fighter, because there's this guy who's a savage And he's just very quiet, humble, nice, not angry or mad at anyone. So yeah, I was able to figure that out early. Thankfully.
So obviously, you have to control the emotion. You got to keep the emotion out of it. How do you handle it when you get into the ring and you start feeling the pain, of the blows? Because the ability to take punishment and pain I would imagine, is a key to success in the ring. What lessons have you gained from applying the same mindset to other goals in your life?
Yeah, I put things in that binary concept. Are you going to let this break you, or are you going to use this to build you up? So whether that's losses, whether that's pain, whether that's difficulty, that was really my mindset. So during training, when I would be getting tired, and I would see most people, they would fall into that mentality that breaks you slowly, progressively over time, because you feel that exhaustion, you feel that survival mechanism kick in, and it starts to break you. So for myself, when I would feel tiredness, exhaustion, pain, soreness, whatever the case may be, I use that as a trigger to tell me, you need to keep going. You have to go through this. The only way out is through. So I would face it head on and say, almost use, have a conversation with this pain, where essentially feeling like it's this voice trying to make me quit, trying to break me. Are you going to break? Are you going to quit? And I'm just like, fuck you. I'm not breaking anything. I'm like, you're going to break before I break. And I just would move forward. And I came to realize over time, and repetitively doing this, is that once you break through that voice in your head, that weakness, that survival mechanism, everything just opens up, and you really see, you can begin to see clearly, right? You see that you thought you only had 4 gears. As soon as you push past that 4th gear that tries to hold you back, the gears are infinite from that point, because there is no breaking you anymore. And I learned to make that my superpower, that nobody can break me. That was one thing I knew for certain. No matter how good somebody was, no matter how much more experience they had than me, no matter how much faster they were than me, I knew, you cannot break me, and I'm going to keep coming forward. And that in itself hindered a lot of people and broke a lot of people. And I could see that it broke a lot of people, because you have to be willing to die in there if you're going to push past that point. Because if you're not, your opponent can see that you have a breaking point in you. I can see that.
I would imagine that it was unnerving to your opponents when they realized at some point during the fight that they couldn't grind you down, that you were just going to keep coming.
Yeah. Yeah. And the more that I saw that, the more that I knew that I needed to strengthen that aspect of myself, not just the physical aspect of it, but that mental and emotional drive to never quit, to never take a backward step, to never slow down, to keep moving forward. That, I would say, that was my greatest gift. And I wouldn't say it's even a gift. It's something you have to develop. It's not something that I had. I certainly didn't have it prior to going after this. So people can look at my way of fighting and say, oh, he just had this gift to deal with pain and exhaustion and move forward through adversity. And it's not a gift. It's a developed ability that we all have. And that was another thing that I came to learn and realize over time, was certainly we're all gifted certain elements that we have, but everything can be developed. Everything can be strengthened. everything can also simultaneously be weakened if you do not develop it. And if you're not in the process of developing it, it is going to become weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. So being very mindful about those different aspects of the game. And that became my priority above anything else. My conditioning and my cardio, certainly. So having the ability to push myself regardless, and my mindset was, I'd say, my greatest strength, in the singular thing that allowed me to get to where I got to and keep moving forward. Because for me, it became something that no matter what happens to me in the ring or outside the ring, I'm using this to improve and to get better, to get stronger. I'm not going to let it break me. I'm not going to let it make me weaker. I'm not going to let it mess with my doubt, give me doubts. And
that's great, Kevin. You know, on that note of these things being developed, things that you have to work at, you were interviewed by Joe Rogan, and one of the things that you talked about is that there's a time to go hard and a time to learn and develop. Can you talk a little bit about that approach?
Yeah. That's something that unfortunately has to come through experience, because, I mean, you want to understand that early on, so you're not just thinking, I'll just put my foot on the gas and only go forward and not even take into account every other factor. But the problem being that we're always going to be on the other side of safety, right? So because we know there's this point when we can push ourselves too far, we're going to hold ourselves back a little bit. Like, well, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to overtrain. I don't want to push through these injuries. And it's learning what's the difference between being hurt and being injured, right? And knowing that instinctually you're always going to be weaker than you have the capacity to do, right? And so for myself, particularly in the beginning, I did put it in that binary thing. Like, if you're breathing, you're fighting. If you're breathing, you're training. It doesn't matter if you're hurt, sore, tired. None of that matters. As the years went on and I got more experience in education, I learned how to read those things a little bit better so I could make minute adjustments when needed. But I'm always going to be on the extreme end of that, because I'd rather go a little too far than not far enough. And then as you get more and more experience, you learn how to dial into that a little bit better. But most of the time, you have to be willing to push yourself too far. I mean, I would say you always have to be willing to push yourself too far. It's learning where that point actually is, and knowing that you need to be on the right side of that and not the left side of that, because you want to be on the left side of that. Your brain and body want to keep you on the left side of that.
It's like a dance almost. Kevin, you said that training builds focus, that it clears the static out of your life and focus you on those things that are important. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's that focus is just like strength, just like bravery. It's not something you just have. You have to develop it. And it's something, what I learned was, if you're just using the gym to develop these things, that's a very small fraction of time in your day that you're working on this, that you're working on your strength, mentally, physically, spiritually. And there's 24 hours in a day that you have, and all these moments that we typically don't think about, that we have as opportunities to get better, to get stronger, we're constantly making these decisions. We can't wait until there's confrontation, until there's danger, to say, oh, now I'm going to be brave. Now I'm going to be strong. Now I'm going to make the right decisions. It's each and every day, every choice you make, everything that you do, when you decide to get out of bed, when you set your alarm instead of hitting the snooze button, that's a moment. And every opportunity you have that you can use to get better, why wouldn't you use that? So that's something that I did, because again, I started so late. I was so far behind. So I'm looking for each and every opportunity that I have to get better, to get stronger. What can I use here that will help me in this art? So yeah, that's what I did, and that's what I continue to do. I always remained a student in that aspect. No matter how good I got, I'm always going to be a beginner in my mind.
You know, I've heard you say that don't think that once you get there, it's going to miraculously change your life and change who you are. Enjoy the moment, enjoy the right now. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah. So the greatest gift for me was knowing that I'm not supposed to be here. And certainly for myself, I had actual moments where this is where you're supposed to not be here, but we all have that. None of us should be here for an infinite number of reasons. And if you can realize that each and every day, it really helps you process a lot of difficulties, and it helps you appreciate everything from the good to the bad. Because even the bad, when you look back, was probably not as bad as you thought it was, and it might have been the greatest thing you could ever have. It could have been a gift. It could have been a pivotal piece of the puzzle that you needed in order to get to where you got to, and without it, you wouldn't have got there. So certainly that moment was bad, but this is a process, and it's a long game. It's not the moment. And two, like, it's important to live in the moment, but not to use that moment to define you. You have the choice. When we always have a choice. That was a big pivotal realization for me, was knowing that you have a choice, no matter what the circumstance is. No matter if somebody's got a gun to your head, you have a choice. It might not be a choice you want to make, and you have a lot of reasons to say, I didn't do this because of this, but you still made a choice. You chose to do what that person with a gun told you to do. You could have said, shoot me in the head. And when you learn to accept the choices that you have in front of you and not blame them on somebody else and say, well, I did this because of this, or I didn't do that because of this. Everybody's got excuses. We all have excuses. I let those excuses hinder me and break me and almost kill me for half of my life. And
so what do you say to people that come up with excuses for not pushing themselves?
I think that at least subconsciously, we all know that we're doing that, which I would say is what leads to a lot of self-destructive behavior. You know that you're not making the right decisions, and you know that it's not anybody else's fault but your own, and you know that you have a choice. And the more that you rely on those excuses, the more it'll break you and make you worse and make you angry and bitter. So I think one thing too is taking into account the things you do have control over, right? It's control the controllables. What do I have control over? So many things we focus on and fixate over constantly, and we're just being bombarded day in and day out with social media and the news and everything. All these things you have no control over. You can't do anything about it. So ask yourself, is there anything I can do about this situation? If there is, then fucking do it. Or accept the fact that you're not doing anything about it and stop complaining about it. Second thing to that was, if you can't do anything about the situation, can you change your perspective on the situation? And that is at the core of everything. Whether or not you can actually change these circumstances and these situations is almost irrelevant. You need to change your perspective on it and realize what you do have control over and what you don't have control over, and accept those things and move forward. And then you can begin to strengthen your knowledge and your abilities, knowing this is the sphere I have control over. And this is where my time and energy and focus should be. Certainly, I have an awareness of these other aspects of life and awareness of things going on in the world. But if there's nothing that I can do about it, if there's nothing I can do to help it, if it's only going to hurt, the more that I dwell on it, the more it destroys me. So I either need to find a way to do something about it, or I need to find a way to change my perspective on it and realize that I don't have any control over it. There's most things in the world and in life we have no control over, but
It's true.
I'd say the biggest issue is we do not take control over the things we do have control over. So that's why we feel so overwhelmed, and that's why we feel like there's nothing we can do. But are you taking control of those things? And just begin by taking control of the smallest thing in the world, whatever that is, whether that's what you're eating, what you're watching, what you're listening to, what time you're waking up. There's so many very small and simple things, and you can't just suddenly make this giant leap to strength, to just being untouchable mentally and physically. You have to start small. It's like, if you want to get in shape, just go for a walk. Go for a walk every day, 5 minutes around the block. That's it. Just do that.
It's great
Do
advice.
that every day. If you can do that every day, you'll start to be able to do a little more every day. And the more you do that, the stronger you get, the better you get, the more it becomes a habit. It's very, very simple, yet it's difficult. It's so difficult, but it's really,
I think it's difficult
so
because
easy.
I think it's difficult because people develop a comfort zone. You know, sometimes it's more comfortable for them to do nothing or to get distracted by things they don't have control over, as you said. And it's when we truly focus on those things that we can control, that it starts to build us up. Kevin, you've written two great books. One's called Dancing with Sanchai, which is about your preparation to fight with one of the greatest Muay Thai fighters of all time, and another called Soul. Now, both of these are available on your website, thesoulassassin.com, correct?
Yes. Yeah. There.
Okay. And so tell us just a little bit about those books.
So the first book, Dancing with Sanchai, was essentially my journal that I kept while I was training in my preparation for going up against essentially the greatest fighter of all time, Muay Thai fighter of all time, Sanchai. So he was a guy I fought in 2012, I think. And so this was 9 years after I began. So when I started, he was just a murderer, had been fighting since he was 8 years old. And he had 300 something fights when we fought. I had, I think, 20.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That's a little experience delta, right?
Yeah, it was funny. I have a picture of the when we walked out. They put our stats up. I have a photo of that. And yeah, it's pretty funny to look at. And yeah,
did you feel did you feel like a fish out of water getting into the ring with him?
No, actually, I had one of the greatest fights any foreigner ever had against him, and pushed him to his breaking point. For me, again, it was knowing and realizing this is just a person. It doesn't matter how great he is. It doesn't matter what he's done. He's a person. He has fear. He has doubt. He has pain. And he's never fought me before. So no matter how many people he's beat, I can't use that as a reference to what it's going to be like for me. I have to be the one to be in front of him he has to be the one to do those things to me. I have a choice here. So yeah, I was just locked in. I trained so hard. I always trained hard, as hard as possible. But I was really I was on another dimension, mentally and spiritually. I was on another planet in that fight. And, yeah, it just was, everything was so automatic that I have very, very minimal recollections of anything that happened in there. Like when I watch it, it's like watching another person. I don't feel, It doesn't feel like me. And I would say that's the case for most of all my best fights. That was the case because you're operating on a different level. You're locked into that flow state where there is no thought, because if you are thinking, it's probably bad. It's probably bad. If you have time to think, it's probably, you're probably not in the right space. So it wants to be a subconscious level of, you've done all the work, you've done all the training, you should be relatively automatic. It's just, I'm going to keep deciding to move forward, and that's going to be it. I would say that's really the choice you make. But even that in itself, you made those choices all through training. Did you decide to push yourself? Did you decide to push yourself? Did you decide to get up and go every day? You can't wait till you get in the ring to decide, now I'm going to go forward, when it's the most difficult thing I've ever faced before, when everybody's watching, and I'm being just pummeled by this person who could literally kill me right now. You can't wait till that point to start to develop strength. You better figure it out before you get in there.
So Kevin, let me say this before we wrap it up. Is there any message that you want our listeners to know? Any words of encouragement that you want to share with them?
Yeah, I always say this quote: "Face your fears, live your dreams." That was always in my mind as I was coming forward. Whenever something would scare me, whenever I would have doubts, I would use it as a question and a signal that's going to either make me get better or it's going to destroy me. And because of that, I simplified these events and these things in my mind to put it into that binary context. And I knew that this is life, this is death. And I'm going to keep living my life every moment, each and every day, for as long as I have, because I'm not supposed to be here anyway. You're not supposed to be here anyway. None of us are supposed to be here anyway. We're not promised anything. We get in this very spoiled mindset, as if we deserve to have a long and healthy and prosperous life. I need to have things given to me. I'm supposed to have this. I'm not supposed to have difficulties. And that's just not the case. All you have to do is travel the world a little bit, and you figure that out really quick. You have it. You are very, 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 very blessed. And somebody always has it worse than you. No matter how bad it is, somebody always has it worse than you. And somebody's had it just as bad, if not worse than you, and has gotten to the point you want to get to. And that's what I always tried to use and try to be an example of. I try to use my life as an example that you can do this too. If I can do this, you certainly can do this. Everybody can do this. It's just a matter of making that choice, making that decision. And again, you might not get to that point you're trying to get to, but you're sure as hell going to be a lot farther than you are right now. And
I love that. Well, you guys, you heard it from Kevin. Face your fears, live your dreams. Kevin, where can we find you on social media?
Instagram's probably where I'm the most active. It's The Soul Assassin, DA Soul Assassin. Pretty easy to find online. My website is thesoulassassin.com, and you can check me out there.
Thank you, Kevin. Your story and your accomplishments are a testament to the power of focused discipline. It's inspiring to hear how you've overcome so many challenges through your strong will and your hard work. Hey, guys, help us to grow the Lee Labrada Show by sharing this podcast with just one other person. Would you do it now? And be sure to hit the subscribe button. Leave your comments and feedback below. And also, You'll find the show on Spotify, perfect if you're listening in your car. All right, you guys, stay motivated, get up, and look up. God bless you.
The Lee Labrada Show.
You're moving me, oh Lord. I just wanna change.